Oh. Oh. Welcome to Meaningful Mornings. A recent study has shared that the average Canadian will spend 22 years, 2 months, and 12 days doing what? Share in the chat. For the Americans, I think this will be more. Your telecommunications is cheaper. Being online. You thought it was sleeping, but it is being online. That's 1/4 of the average Canadian's life. If you account for sleep, in which case we can't be online, that's more than 1/3 of our lives we are connected. You're all thinking, well, you started Meaningful Mornings, you're contributing towards this. This is true, but in Meaningful Mornings, we are learning to direct ourselves online, not to be controlled when online. Those are dimensions apart. When one is established in Karma Yoga, this is the subject that Sri Krishna has invested the most in our 210 verses and more. When one is established in this, one will also be established in Karma Sannyasa Yoga. In other words, if you're established in being dedicated, you will also be established in being doershiplessness. In Sanskrit, these words are, this karma, the effort we're putting in, will naturally create a phala, or result. The second line of verse 7, and all of 8, and all of 9, this is the phala. Traditionally, we call this the phala shruti. What do I get? Whenever we think of shruti, which means music or sound, we tend to associate this externally. But this shruti, you do not hear externally, you listen to this within. I am not the doer, I am not the doer. That is an amazing experience, very much like prasad. We tend to think prasad is external. I get a book, I get a fruit, I get ash. Prasad is to be felt within as this sense of delight. Karma Yoga is living to integrate one's equipments. Disintegration is when you feel tired and bored and frustrated. But when one is dedicated, all of these equipments get integrated. And so there's no outlet for the ego. The ego can't exert its extrovertedness. It's almost like with this integration, our equipment stop being porous. So the ego has no way to enter these equipments. So I never feel like I am the doer. What's fascinating about this is we do all experience this. When we are asleep, our ego is absorbed. What a lovely experience what sleep is, yes? Shri Krishna described it in the last verse. We have to have that same feeling of the ego being absorbed, but while we're awake. This is where Sri Buddha said, I'm Buddhva, which means I'm awakened. And that's why Shri Krishna uses all of these verbs. You can't engage in these verbs while you're asleep. Even going to sleep, you have to be awake, correct? That's why you're going to sleep. To feel this with your eyes open, adding more ways that we can tune into this Shruti, this feeling within. We feel less deservership and doership when we are in the company of those who are noble. Do you agree? A noble person is not trying to put you down so you don't have to fight to be on top. You can relax, be at ease. I'll give you a personal example. For many years when I could travel, I would bring seekers to Bharat on yatras. One of our yatras was with 72 seekers. This was an immense administrative responsibility, logistical responsibility. We were on one train and we occupied 10 compartments. It was like a Bollywood movie. People were walking and singing. And when we would go to be with Puja Swami Tejomayananda, and everyone would be focused on him and listening to him, I loved it. Even though Vivek did all the work to be there, but when you're in the company of the noble, you have no drive for this sense of deservership or doership. Rather, you delight when that's not being directed towards you. Adding another way that we can start to feel this Shruti, remember that you are to be a Shishya. In English, that means disciple. A Shishya is one who embraces Shasana. Shasana is that which comes from one's master. It is direction, it is discipline. A disciple is one who is obedient. Sheila and I talk about this a lot. I tell her I pray that our children grow up to be obedient. You can clearly see the trajectory they're on right now. And this doesn't resonate with her. And I explain why. Obedience is not the right virtue when you have the wrong master. Because whatever you're obedient towards, you're going to become. And what happens is that 99% of the parents are not the right masters. So that's why they don't want their children to be obedient, because then their children are going to become like them. But you have to shift this to the sacred. If you have the right master and you're obedient, you become that master. The master wants that. And a lovely expression of this is Sri Rama and Sri Hanumana. Whenever you think of Sri Hanumana, don't you associate obedience with him? And we have no negativity towards Hanumanji. This obedience helps us to evolve from being the karta, which means doer, to karana, being an instrument. Be an instrument of such a master. And that's why I presented also the omnivore's dilemma. There's so many choices that leads to that confusion, but if there is no choice, there is clarity then. Those who are clear are decisive. Those who are decisive are confident. Don't we all want to be like that? Indecisiveness steals from us. Lack of confidence hurts our potential. Srimad Bhagavad Gita is investing in us to invest in our responsibilities. If we all tend to our responsibilities, no one needs to fight for their rights. Everyone's rights will naturally be tended to, but see how society is the exact opposite. Everyone is fighting for rights. Why? Because people are distracted from their responsibilities. Be sure that you are absorbed in the right attitude, in the right actions. Shri Krishna continues into verse 9. It is the same messaging as verse 8, which is why I've shared a lot of insights into what the implication of these verses are. Pralapan visarjan grinnan, unmishan nimishan api, indriyan indriyarteshu, vartanta iti dharayan. Some more verbs. If you know these, act them out, okay? This is like interpretive dancing, correct? That's what it's called. Pralapan. You all think that I do this a lot, which means speaking. Pralapan also means prattling. So Meaningful Mornings is about pralapan or prattling. Visrajan, letting go. Grinnan, holding on. Unmishan, opening your eyes. Nimishan, closing your eyes. In other words, blinking. All of these verbs, and let me pause here, api. Api means and. These are some verbs, but this feeling is to pervade all verbs. Can you share a few more verbs with me in the chat? I see sleeping. I see shoveling. What other verbs are you going to engage in today? Breathing, reading, walking, cooking, washing. That same sense of, I am not the doer. I am an instrument. These are my responsibilities. If the car that is going to take our kids to school today doesn't start, then that car is being irresponsible, correct? But if that car is an instrument fully, it will follow its responsibility. Keep us safe. Indriyani, indriyarteshu. Indriyani, that is our senses. Why are you and I using our senses? To create happiness. That's what we're doing. But the one who is not the doer, indriyarteshu, though their senses are engaged in the sense objects, they're not trying to create happiness. Why? They're already listening, feeling that their nature is happiness. They are being while they're doing. A Helen Keller quote, which I've shared with you many times, I'm sharing it again. Be happy with what you have while you work for what you want. That is what an enlightened person lives like or by. They have what they need, that is joy, and now all else that is happening, it's as if they want it. It's a bonus. They're acting out of fulfillment. Practice that with what's in your life. Be happy with what you have. That's how we elevate to such greatness that is shared in these verses. Vartanta iti dharayan. Dharayan, one has the conviction. They're holding on to this knowledge, to this vision, while all of this movement is happening. They identify with existence through the ego, equipments, experiences. I identify with Vivek through all of these equipments. My feet, my knees, my neck. You all identify with every facet of your home, correct? It's not the bathroom is not part of your home or the garage is not part of your home. It's all your home. That makes one good. Now be great. Feel this with your community and society. Be the greatest. Feel this with humanity, animals, plants, stones. And here's the plan. From inspiration to application. Your application yesterday was to carry your tridandi. Can I see your tridandi? I see Hamza, Smita, Jewy brought a roller pin. Sarlaj, you drew it. I see Dwayne's. Lovely. And many others also. Unfortunately, this is public, so everyone saw you right now. And unfortunately, people are going to interpret, what kind of community is this? See, everything you're holding right now is external, correct? That's why you're holding it. That which is external is a reminder. Correct? That danda is a reminder to live by an ideal, to integrate. But once you've remembered, do you need that reminder? When you use a GPS to get to someone's home, you don't need it then. So you don't need to externalize. Rituals are reminders. If you remember, don't externalize that. Here is your application for this morning. I want you to memorize verses 8 and 9 of chapter 5. Memorize them. Why? Because it's fun. Memorize them. Why? Because it's good for your brain. We don't memorize anything now. Everything is on our phones. Memorize them. Why? Because this is how we should live. Shanti, shanti, shantihi. Be safe, be sound, be serene, be happiness.